Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Doom Scroll podcast. Because doom scrolling is more fun with friends, so we're gonna let you know what we've been doom scrolling this week.
And there's a
Calvin,
lot.
yeah, there's so much that we can't even actually cover everything. A lot happened this week, so how you doing, Calvin? With everything that's been going on.
Uh, it's every single week, every single day. I feel like we unfortunately don't have the amount of listeners we would need to quit our day jobs and just have to do this like almost hourly at
Yeah.
this point. But yeah, no, I mean, if you look at news aside, this week's been good. Just working and
Yeah.
working and trying to get past all of this that's going on and just enjoy the little things. Yeah, how about you?
Yeah, pretty good. I got in a little bit more like doom scrolling time than usual because I had this procedure and it got delayed because there was like an emergency, and so the uh, surgeon or whatever had to do the emergency. So I was just waiting for like an extra few hours. So I was just like scrolling, doom scrolling most of the time. So I'm pretty up to date this week at least, but um it's interesting. I feel like this procedure in itself, like every single thing that I was like afraid of kind of happened in a way. uh it Okay, so first of all, like I didn't really know that it was like such an intense thing. It's for my arm. I had phalloplasty, and my graft kind of restricts my blood flow, and so this is more of a diagnostic thing to see how restricted it is, if I'm a candidate for another surgery where they take a vein for somewhere else in my body and, you know, put it in my hand so I get better blood flow. So what they do is they inject dye through your femoral artery. So in your groin, they thread a catheter up there. Uh, little intense, especially for a diagnostic. Like before, the doctor was giving me his little spiel, and he was like, "I'm gonna be in your like one of your arteries or veins or whatever." Wait, arteries that supplies blood to your brain. And so he's like, possibility of stroke, blah blah blah. I'm like, cool. I'm about to get up and walk out of here. But I think the most awkward thing is, normally when you have a procedure and it involves the groin area, usually they shave you when you're like asleep,
Hmm.
right? You just wake up and you're like, oh, thanks. Who drew the short straw today? I'm sorry. Like, you probably needed a weed whacker. But this time, they shaved me when I was awake. And I was just like, what is this shit?
That is a nightmare right there.
It was very awkward. I mean, like the nurse was great about it and stuff, but I'm really just like, why couldn't you have done this when I was? This is so weird. Um, so that was fun. But I got to, see, because you always wonder, like, they do such a good job.
Hmm.
And like, how did they not cut me? But they had those little specialized clippers essentially, and they had this little vacuum that they just go and vacuum up after so it doesn't get everywhere. Um, but yeah, so that was my eventful time of the week. Usually my weeks are pretty boring. Um, but it just ended up being a nice little nap. Uh, and then afterwards, I didn't really understand the extent of, basically they send you home with a little artery plug. Like they put a little seal over your artery, and I was still high when they're like giving aftercare instructions, and I didn't grasp that I had this like plug that I shouldn't bend down or etc. because it might, unplug and then I could bleed out.
Hmm.
So like Des is like following me around trying to make sure I'm not doing anything stupid. I'm just like, what? Like, what's the problem? So I didn't like understand until like I think later on. I was just like, why is she making such a big deal? I like chat GPT'd it and I was like, oh, okay, whoops.
I
So
liked how you didn't trust her. You were just like, I'm gonna go to ChatGPT and be like, why is she following me around?
well, it's like it's kind of sorry, Des, for listening, but it's kind of how she is. Like she's like extra, concerned and cautious about
Oh,
anything involving procedures, and so I just figured she was being herself. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm not paying attention, or I just wasn't aware. But I didn't bleed out. I'm here. I'm
that's
fine.
good.
So yeah, and now back to reality. I wish I could just be like asleep for the next 4 years with whatever they
Hmm.
gave me because that was nice. But yeah, unfortunately not. So we get to discuss the reality again.
Fun,
So
fun times.
yeah, to cover, should I just like give out the topics we'll, discuss? All right. So first off, kicking it off with the trans gun ban because why not, right? And then the DoD name change from Department of Defense to Department of War, along with Trump's threat to Chicago using the Department of War now. Uh, and let's see, there was also bombing of a ship that was allegedly a cartel smuggling drugs, but there isn't really a confirmation because apparently the Venezuelan people are like, they were fishermen, you assholes. Thanks for killing, civilians. So, um, yeah, that's and any kind of updates with the Epstein stuff. There was a survivor's speech on Capitol Hill. And then, of course, Mike Johnson decided to tell us that Trump was a FBI informant. That's why he's in the Epstein files. It's like, okay, yeah, So,
He's a hero.
yeah, he is the ultimate hero for sure. So yeah, should we start with the trans gun ban?
Yeah. You want me to start that off? So the Trump's admins DOJ, they're in early talks about restricting transgender people's rights to own guns. This is all following the Minnesota shooting that happened. Was that last week, 2 weeks ago? It feels like it. It feels like it's every day, and it feels like it's months away. Um, as we talked about last week, there was in since 1990 there was four people who identified as or potentially identified as trans or non-binary that were involved in mass shootings out of 830 something. So to put that in perspective, there has been no other bans on any other, mental illness or pretty much anything, right? So um, this is
I
big.
think
I mean,
there is something if you've been hospitalized for a mental health issue, then you can't purchase a gun. But that's all I know
yeah,
of.
yeah, and I believe also like if you were uh, convicted of a felony, I believe you also can't own a gun. Um, but yeah, so this is just another one of those we're going to target trans people, we're going to vilify them, and yeah, I mean this is another thing that's going to lead to lawsuits, and another another move probably towards Project 2025. We've already seen, if you've looked into Project 2025, we've already seen that, their plan is to basically, criminalize all trans people, put them under the sex offender registry, and who knows what next. So this is just another, step to it. But what, they probably weren't expecting is they're getting pushback from some Republicans and even the NRA because you do that, you're opening yourself up for other issues with the Second and 14th Amendments. So yeah, it sucks, and it also, as someone who's never really wanted a gun, it kind of makes me want to go get a gun just so like I have it before this happens,
Yeah.
But I've also been you know I'll get into it later when we talk about what we're watching, but my wife and I just started binge watching The Hunter's Wives on Netflix, and it did make me be like, I would like to go like shoot a gun at some point, like go to a shooting range. Like that does kind of look like fun. But anyway, it's just another thing where we're watching people's rights get taken away. So definitely, definitely not good. I would like to see restrictions on people purchasing guns, but I would like to see that as nationwide and a blanket ban on certain guns or certain restrictions. I don't want to see any particular community or people or race or identity getting banned from owning guns, because if you looked at the statistics, I mean, really, the only ones who should be banned from guns are white cis men. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much their whole demographic. So I don't know what you think about all that.
Yeah, it's interesting how that works. How you can have, dozens of, straight white cis men be the people that are doing these shootings and nothing gets done. And then as soon as there's maybe a couple trans identifying people, uh, then they're like, cool, let's ban it from trans people. And it's like, oh, of course, of course. But it's funny, even the NRA put out a statement against sweeping bans. So for the NRA to be against banning or like taking away rights is interesting. You never thought you would agree with something the
Yeah.
NRA said, and again, uh, it's hard because I definitely saw someone say, if you want to see leftists fight for gun rights, then make it illegal for trans people and watch them defend it. And I'm like, God damn it, it's not about the guns. It's the fact that we want equality. So if you're allowed to buy guns, then we should be allowed to buy guns too, even if we don't want to, even if we like don't own guns or have no desire to. It still is shitty to not allow people to have them. And so again, it's not that we're fighting for gun rights because we want guns. It's just that we want equal rights in
Rights.
general.
Yeah.
And if shit hits the fan and then trans people are like the only people not allowed to have guns, well, guess we'll see. Yeah, see you later. We're fucked. So, yeah, it's a little confusing because it's not something that I'm passionately like I want to fight for gun rights. Like I want to fight for gun control. So it makes people kind of flip flop. I don't know if that's the point, and they're just fucking with us because they seem to be really good at trolling. So I wouldn't be surprised. So I'm trying to be more cautious of like not falling for shit. The games, the culture wars, and the distractions. And I think this is definitely one of them. And I don't see how any of them, unless they're completely delusional, which they probably are, could really think that this is going to solve any problems. So
Yeah, I think this is just another big distraction. One, it's something that's pushing their agenda, but it's also something to where it's getting everyone up in arms and distracted away from Epstein stuff. So
yeah, exactly.
I think we're gonna see more of this for sure.
Yeah, and I do think it gives them, even if it's not, I mean, it might not even be about guns. It might actually just be a way for them to control trans people, because if they push to get, gender dysphoria is in the DSM-5, but being like trans in general is not classified as a mental illness anymore. Like it was removed, but we still need gender dysphoria in there because insurance. We need things paid for. We need things coded properly, or else we wouldn't be able to get insurance to cover things. But they're trying to make it as a reason to institutionalize trans people in general, even if you're just trans. You don't have any other mental illnesses, you're just trans. They're trying to make those sweeping generalizations because they just really don't like trans people. They're trying to put a stop to it. They're trying to stop the healthcare, because they're even making it so federal employees will not get their trans healthcare covered, by 2026. So, they're putting all these steps in place to, little steps at a time to strip rights away. So that's really the thing that I'm trying to pay attention to the most. So yeah, that's that's shitty.
I mean, and to jump into our next topic, if we want to talk about trans issues, the Department of Defense is going through their own transition, as they have just changed their secondary name to the Department of War. Do you want to give a little overview on that?
Yeah, so Trump signed an executive order on September 5th to rebrand the Department of Defense as the Department of War and to restore warrior ethos. It's symbolic but costly and confusing. Pentagon folks are annoyed, and it's seen as warmongering theater, especially since his threat to Chicago, which he like tweeted out or put out on Truth Social. But of course, there's always someone who retweets the True Social tweets directly to Twitter every time he posts it. But he posted this pretty disturbing AI photo showing him as like a warlord over Chicago with helicopters, captioned, "I love the smell of deportations in the morning. Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War." And as a president, I cannot, can you imagine Obama tweeting something like that and what people would say, especially on the
Yeah.
right? Like they would be up in arms. And so it just gets just crazier and crazier. And, that leads to like the other thing of, uh, the Chicago situation and ICE trying to come through and people are trying to keep them out and stuff. But it's a mess, and the way he handles things is just idiotic. But I think he's trying to create more shit because he wants a reason to call in the National Guard or like declare martial law. So it's almost like he's waiting for an incident to happen so that he could do that. And I wouldn't be surprised, if it did, because it's escalating, because he's escalating every situation. So, yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Even though obviously we are involved in wars, we look at the Iraq War and everything that's happened since 2001, and before that. Um, you know, the Department of Defense, at least the rhetoric is, we are defending our country or we are defending our allies. That's kind of right. The Department of War, we are now going for a rhetoric of we are the aggressors. We are starting things. We have shifted so fast, from a democracy into a fascist country. It is crazy, the things that are happening and we are getting away with. I mean, I say we are getting away with because our country, the media propaganda is pretty intense. If you look at any news outlets from outside of our bubble, they are very aware of how fast we are shifting, and there are so many warnings to people that are planning on visiting the U.S. So yeah, I mean, this is just another almost like a man with a little dick buying a big truck type of situation. Just I'm gonna make myself seem like we are we're gonna come after you. We like don't mess with us. It's all talk. I mean, unfortunately, it's not all talk, but I feel like I can't get more and more disgusted with our own administration, and then this stuff keeps happening. So I mean, I also see I've been seeing a lot of videos of commentators talking about how like it's now been proven, or people have stepped up, that were behind the scenes, that Kamala Harris actually won the election and something happened. I saw one video where this guy's showing the polling numbers, you know that at like I don't know the exact times. It was like at 8:32 in one of the states. Kamala Harris had like 1 million something 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 votes, and Trump was at like 900,000 votes. And then in like a span of 2 minutes, something happened, and Kamala Harris then had 900,000 votes, and Trump had like over 1 million votes. And like it's hard to like, you feel like you're going down like a conspiracy theory, type of thing. But like, one, I could totally believe it, because how do you have, I believe that one of those states, all voted blue. They voted for like a blue governor, two blue Senate people or whatever, and then they vote for Trump. Like that, it doesn't make sense. But I'm also at the point where like, even if that was true, nothing's gonna happen. He's already in the place he is. He's already stocked himself with people who are groveling at his feet and are not going to stand up to him. So there's no checks and balance. We're just kind of fucked no matter what. But the fact that he's just making these changes like for absolutely no reason, it's just insane. And I don't know when enough is going to be enough for people. I mean, we're already seeing, kind of like, surprisingly, like Marjorie Taylor Greene kind of, going against, what the administration is doing, which is surprising. But there's still like 90%, 99% of the Republicans are still like backing him up, and it's scary. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I wish people would, I know there's some people that are saying like this is stupid and needs to, go back, but who knows if anything's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I just feel like it's hard because you see yourself falling into the same shit that the right fell into when Biden was
Mm-hmm.
elected, being like, oh, we won, it was rigged. And then we start talking about Trump's health, so
Mm-hmm.
it's like we're going by the right's playbook. So I'm just
Yeah,
like
exactly.
so cautious to go down those rabbit holes, even though, it could be fun to entertain to think, well, yeah, like we were cheated. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because we're still not in the position that we want to be in. There's nothing we could do about it.
Mm-hmm.
So we can speculate all we want, but unfortunately, nothing is going to change because if someone was going to do something, they would have done something before they certified the election. So I don't know how much that actually even helps, and it just puts us more at risk of going into conspiracy theory mode. And it's just our brain trying to search for more certainty uh, in a time where we feel like we don't have control over anything. And I get that it's scary. And, I'm still going to be like, there could be some truth to all this. I'm not going to rule it all out. It's just a matter of how important is it at this point? Like, what other things can we do? Um, and I don't even know.
Well, I mean, it's also scary, how much media has played a role in all of this. And you're even looking at like, just in the last year, how advanced AI has gotten. And like, I see so many videos right now that like, to most people would look like it's like a real news story, or real like live camera footage. And then you dig deep and it's AI, and it's so easy to trick people. And going through it now, like, because of how crazy things are, like back when, Biden won, and people were going down that spiral of like, the election was rigged and all this. And now going through it myself, like one, you don't know, like obviously, like that stuff was like you had Fox News and all these other, media sources or conspiracy sources that were feeding just lies. But it's hard now being on the other side of that, being like, okay, what is real, what is not real, and I can now empathize with the people on the right back then, because they're getting told this information by sources that they feel are credible. So I can understand that frustration of like, I'm in a country where like the person that I backed was supposed to win and it was an unfair election. Biden won, but everyone that I follow is telling me that that wasn't real, that Trump really won, but I can understand them, like that anger and hostility building up, and why people want to fight for what they feel is like their country getting taken away from them. And I feel like a huge part of that is the media. The media has let people down, and there's just too much inaccuracy. We have too many platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or whatever, TikTok now, that there's no proper fact checking, or there started to be fact checking with like Facebook, and then when Trump came back in, it was like, oh, we're just gonna we're gonna get rid of it. Like it's just scary to see the way things are falling, and there's no discernible truth anymore. Like you just can't trust any sources because it's hard.
Yeah, it's like fact checking now takes a lot more time, and people are just not willing to take that time, especially if you're just like in a rush and you're scrolling and you're not, it's easy to just believe anything that you see. So it's always a good idea to double check things before you kind of jump to conclusions. But yeah, Trump did also, when he lost, he also, it wasn't just the media, like Fox News on that side of things. It was like he was the one legitimately
But yeah,
saying, like, you don't see
absolutely.
Harris being like, "I won,
Mm-hmm.
take back, fight." You're like,
Mm-hmm.
that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So she didn't incite any like insurrection.
No, no, absolutely.
um, but I think you know the left was so afraid of being like the right, even if something did happen, we were like, we can't do anything because we don't want to sound like them. So it's like this perfect recipe for if anyone was going to steal an election, this would be the year to do it, unfortunately. But again, nothing we can do about it. And honestly, I feel like every fucking election is rigged, no matter who wins, because whoever is donating to their fucking campaigns is the ones who actually have control. Have you ever noticed? I mean, besides now, and I'm not saying this is a good thing, but the most change that has ever, this is why people are saying Trump is the greatest president, because the most change that has ever occurred has been through Trump in bad ways, but like nothing changed for years, no matter who won, Democrat or Republican, because they're still just controlled by their
Mm-hmm.
donors. And I don't feel like the American people actually get to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Like we get to choose between two people that we usually don't even want either of them, and nothing changes. We're still struggling financially. We struggle with high healthcare costs. Like there's no help for people that really, really need it, or there's just not any empathy for it. It's just like one year after year after year, the same shit is still a thing. So if people see Trump as this disruptor, well, it's because he is, but it's not in the good ways. It's making
Yeah.
the issues we already have worse. So yeah, that's the fun part of this
I mean, he's
country.
basically like a mob boss. He's just going in and he's gonna threaten everyone to do what he them to do. So
Yeah,
I don't
and he's
know.
got
Yeah.
the Heritage Foundation is basically using him as this vessel to implement their plan. I feel like sometime we should do a deep dive on Project 2025 on its own, just because it's such a big thing and Trump denied it for so long. But going by the playbook as they check things off the list. It's just like, wow, like everything is happening the way that it's laid out. It's just too much of a coincidence to think it's not something, it's not real. And I've seen a lot of people really kind of simping for Vance lately,
Mm-hmm.
even more, especially on Twitter. And it just makes me think they're trying to either build him up for a takeover or build him up for the 2028 election because they want to keep him in power. And that's the hard part to also acknowledge is that whatever is happening now, whatever has already occurred, it's going to take a really long time for there to be change, especially if Vance does get elected. Then that just gives the rest of Project 2025 a green light for how many years to come, potentially eight of Vance. And then it's just like, wow, that we would be fucked. So, whatever we got to do to prevent that from happening, we need to do. And that also includes like it's that saying that I fucking hate that we only have this option, but it's like, voting blue no matter who, because we can't afford to lose our health care or any more rights, as trans people specifically, but, women's rights as well, people of color. It's just like, it's just, yeah, it's a lot of shit.
Yeah. We just need something stable right now. We don't need at this point we don't need to make a bunch of progress. We just need to make sure that the progress that has been made doesn't get lost.
I mean, shit, we're so unstable. We got Putin and North Korea meeting up and for their summits to, or no, it was China. Sorry, we got Putin and the Z guy from China. I just
Mm-hmm.
like don't know, meeting up to create a new world order because they want stability because the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
is no longer as stable. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just like if that's not a fucking wake up call, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
so it's not just us that feels this instability. It's the whole goddamn world. Cool. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. No, you know, just speaking of Department of War, I think I sent you a video, but the hospitals in France have now been given warnings to prepare for like having to take in mass like injured soldiers from the front lines because they're like prepping for basically World War III, and they're like planning it in like the next year to 2 years. So like other countries are like, yeah, shit's about to go down. Like we are getting ready. The whole country of France got pamphlets on like basically like safety kits that every home should have in case of a nuclear attack. And it feels like we're going back into like the 50s. Where people were having to learn how to duck under their desks because that would save them from a bomb blast or whatever.
Right.
But that's what other countries are doing, and we're not hearing that, we're not doing that. But you know we're not safe. If we instigate a war or get involved with instigating a war, like we we're gonna get hit. Like there's gonna be like we're not safe. There's no we can touch other people and I'm in the safe zone. That's just not how it is. And kind of like a little segment off of that is there's the whole radioactive shrimp thing that's going on right now, which
Yeah.
you've seen the meme of the guy talking about like if we eat the shrimp we're gonna turn into this alien. It's the alien from fucking Aliens.
Yeah.
But
He's like, you'll look like
one,
this.
yeah, you'll look like this. But you know those radioactive shrimp, one, they have, when you actually look into it, they actually have a normal amount of whatever that protein is or whatever that's supposed to be radioactive. But that is a direct result from bombing like Hiroshima and Chernobyl. Like it's radioactivity that we have put into the earth because of bombs. So it's, I mean, it's just stupid. And like I just feel like other countries are preparing, we're not, and we're definitely our country is amping up that feeling of something's gonna happen. So
Well, I mean, the US, I feel like, is maybe overly confident that we're untouchable. I know we do have, very good defense. We have a very large military. And so, but still, are we safe? No, I mean, we've gotten hit before, whether it's like an actual, like Pearl Harbor. I feel like we get cocky or think we're untouchable, and that's when something happens. September 11th, it's just, there are still ways that we can be hit, even if it's not, a nuclear missile launched right at us. There's other ways. A lot of times it claims a lot of civilian lives, and it's shitty, but we just don't know. We don't know how to prepare. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We're not being informed of any potential threats towards us. There's a feeling that there's a lot of things brewing, but there hasn't been anything said by the administration of being like danger, because they're just the ones that are, stoking that fire, like being the
yeah,
aggressors in a sense. And so it's just like, I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah. So speaking of bombs, uh, so we bombed a ship the other day that was allegedly cartels smuggling drugs. So on September 3rd, the U.S. Navy bombed a Venezuelan vessel in international waters, killing 11, claiming it was smuggling fentanyl-laced cocaine. That would have been a trip for cartels.
we're
Trump
gonna
called
start
it
getting fentanyl laced shrimp now that we can eat.
I mean, I'll take that if it's just not an overdose. I'd be like, yeah, the shrimp's awesome. Uh, so, you just see people like just buying bags of shrimp.
Yeah.
Oh man. So, so Trump called it a win in the drug war, but Venezuela says it was fishermen, and no drug evidence has been shown publicly. And that's fucking bullshit. Vance was, basically saying he didn't fucking care if to confirm or give them, like there was no way to actually know. It was just like alleged.
Hmm.
They just like went off. I'm sure they have some sort of intelligence that they like were going off of, but that's still not 100% sure. So to just like not have due process and just drop bombs in international waters, is that not a war crime? I mean,
That
because
it
any other
should be a war crime.
country,
Hmm.
they could retaliate and hit a fucking cruise ship. Just
Hmm.
be like, oh, sorry, we thought you had drugs. Like, it's the
They,
same
they
goddamn thing.
probably do.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah, no,
probably.
no. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's even if they were a cartel that was smuggling drugs, that is not a reason to bomb them. That is something where you can detain them and arrest them, and whatever you need to do in the justice system. And obviously, it was also in the waters of Venezuela, so it's not our spot to do that. Um, but bombing should not have been the answer anyway. So, yeah, again, this is just amping up, war rhetoric. We are going to turn every single country against us. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's scary.
Yeah, it definitely is. It feels like no one likes us. And we don't have any allies anymore besides Israel, well, I guess, but I don't know what that is. So, yeah, it's a lot to process, and just, you know, it's a lot. It sucks to feel ashamed of
Hmm.
your country. And I know there's a lot of people out there probably squirming at that phrase, even, but it literally feels like if we were to travel outside our country, I wouldn't want anyone to know that I was an American because of everything that's happening. because you worry about getting roped in with the craziness and everyone thinking that every American is like Trump or his followers, like MAGA. And it's just, if I had a message to any country out there, I'd just be like, it's not everybody, I promise. Just like there's like Russians or like not everyone in Germany at the time was a
Hmm.
Nazi,
Yeah.
something along those lines. Like we're not all MAGA over here.
Hmm.
Uh, don't hate us all,
Because
but
we
yeah,
hate ourselves.
we do, we really do. There's like internalized Americophobia. So, did you have anything else you wanted to discuss on that one, or should we go to the
Yeah,
Epstein
I think we
updates?
just. Yeah, let's go straight into Epstein.
Sweet. You want to go over that one?
Sure. So on September 3rd, Epstein survivors held an emotional press conference on Capitol Hill, sharing stories and demanding the full file release, calling the recent 33,000-page drop redacted junk. Bipartisan lawmakers, Representative Khanna and Massey, backed them, pushing for transparency. Mike Johnson is he dropped a bombshell on September 6th and claimed that Trump was an FBI informant, and that is why his name is in the Epstein list, um, which is just another like, oh, we know he's in the we know he's in the files, so we're gonna give you an excuse why. And unfortunately, there's already people who are like falling for it. So you
Right.
know,
And also, like, so let me get this straight. Trump is an informant for a hoax, like for something he says is a hoax. It's like make up your mind. Like, is it real? What is he informing people on if it's a hoax? So yeah, make it make sense. I feel like he just keeps changing his stance like every 2 seconds, and somehow
I
he still
feel
has people believing him.
I feel like that's what we need on hats is make it make sense again.
Yeah, yes, that would be for sure. Yeah, that would be a great. I would buy that hat.
Yeah.
Maybe we should make that hat. Merch store
Right?
coming soon. So yeah, as far as that goes, so I know they also had they talked in front of Congress the day before they had their Capitol Hill speeches, where Nancy Mace, I don't know if you saw that, she left before it was over, just crying because she said she was triggered because she's a sexual assault survivor, and leave it to Nancy Mace to make absolutely everything about her.
But you know
Yeah.
who she wasn't sexually assaulted by?
Mm.
A trans
Ew.
person.
That's fucking true.
So, just saying.
Yeah, she's so adamant that trans people are going to be the predators, yet she supports the actual predator in office. It's crazy
Make it make
making.
sense again.
Yes, please make it make sense again. Uh, so after people were kind of reporting, and Marjorie Taylor Greene also, because they had to sign right to release the Epstein files, and I know that Nancy Mace and Marjorie signed to have them released, and the Trump admin also released saying like anyone who signs for the release basically is I can't remember the specific words, but you're against Trump essentially. Like
Yeah. You're
you
like an
are.
enemy of Trump.
Yes. And I thought, like, you guys tell on yourselves so much. But for some reason, MAGA doesn't pay attention. It's just like, if you even have to say that, you are fucking guilty. So, uh, Nancy Mace, I think, she signed it and she was trying to like cover her tracks and, of course, put out a tweet that was like saying Trump helped these women by getting Epstein arrested, and essentially it was almost like saying he was an FBI informant without saying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, how the fuck, dude? Like, how? And um Marjorie, she didn't do that right away, at least. I think she recently put something out that was more like, oh, I still support Trump kind of thing. So she's like, y'all are so disappointing. But I wouldn't expect anything less, you know. So
I just want to know, was he an FBI informant when he was starting all the beauty pageants and he was like walking behind the scenes looking at, young women undressing? Was that part of his informant duties, or was it just when he was on the island and he was, potentially sleeping with young girls?
well, and
Where
then the
when
other
was that
thing
line?
is, yeah, well, doesn't an informant mean like you were caught doing what that someone got in trouble for, and you're like, it's almost an exchange, like I'll help you
Hmm.
out if you don't punish me for it,
I mean,
kind of thing.
you can be an informant, like if like so say he's hanging out with Epstein and Epstein's like, hey, I've got some people I can hook you up with, and he finds out that they're underage. He could then go to the authorities and be like, I want to help you get this guy, and not have done anything. But we know that's not true because we have had people come forward that were victims who have named Trump. He has been convicted of a sexual assault against someone else. So it the puzzle pieces line up perfectly. There's no blurred lines there. It's just whatever you want to believe. But he yeah, this is just another excuse for them to try and you know keep the MAGA people happy, is by saying you know this is why his name's going to be in there when it's released. It's not because he did anything. It's because he was the one who fought for Epstein to be you know arrested, and then just immediately said it was a Democratic hoax. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fucking circus. Never a dull moment, in life right now. But I kind of wish there was, because I miss just feeling a little bored with life.
I miss when news was boring. I miss when it
Yeah.
was just like, oh, okay, yeah, something about taxes, or the Dow. I don't even know what the Dow is, but it's going up, it's going down. Yay, and now it's just every single day. It's insane. So
Yeah, it's a roller coaster for sure. A roller coaster that I don't want to be on. One that I would not wait in line for, or even get on if I had a fast track pass. Like, it's
mm-mm.
just, that's a no for me. But
Yeah.
we were forced. We were forced on. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there. Yeah, I think that's like the biggest Epstein updates. I know they also found like the missing minute of the video. I haven't seen it passed around too much, so I need to like look into it a little deeper. Again, the whole, is this real? It didn't show anything besides a guard like got up from the station and like walked up towards his cell. So that's what that like missing minute shows, I think. And maybe they just didn't want to include that to be like, oh, there is someone who got up and headed towards his cell, because that's probably the guy they fucking paid to kill him. So anywho, I'll look into that a little bit more, but there's definitely more things that are being released, or in the talks of being released. And I don't I don't know that we're gonna. Yeah, I heard that the Trump administration asked for two people specifically to be protected, like some associates of Epstein. So they must have been a pretty big deal, and I know that there's some reason that they talked about why, which still kind of incriminates Trump, but again, it's all speculation at this point. And yeah, so I know I've been watching that Michael Wolf guy's Instagram. He puts out updates every day, and he said the story behind the FBI informant situation is that, so Epstein and Trump were both putting in bids to buy some estate in Palm Beach, and Epstein put in a bid, but then Trump put in another bid for like $41 million, and he knew that Trump didn't have $41 million, but he was trying to purchase it for some Russian asset or something.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. And so essentially, it was like he was buying it for someone dealing with Russia, and Epstein was pissed, and it was essentially money laundering. And he was basically so pissed he was told Trump he was gonna report him or turn or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And so Trump was like, okay, well, I'm gonna tell that you're running this, sex trafficking situation. And apparently, like, that's what he did. And told the police that he was running this quote unquote whorehouse, is how this Michael guy explained it. Uh, so apparently, that's how it went down. It wasn't because Trump had this moral moment where he was like, oh, this is wrong. It was just like, fuck this guy. I'm going to get to him before he can get to me. So it's this weird circle jerk of blackmail that just circles around continuously.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yep. So, anything else on that, or should we move on to what we've been watching?
Let's move on to what we've been watching. What have you been watching lately, Cody?
Uh, Still Chef's Table. It's still a great little break. It makes me want to just cook food and be like, cool. We all need to eat. We are all humans, and even if we disagree and argue on Twitter all the time, uh, maybe we can enjoy some good food. It's just a nice little show, and it's inspirational. The things that people do with food and culture and stuff. Also watching the show Afterlife. Still, I think we're on the last season, and then that documentary with the teenager who there was that unknown number that was texting
That
and
was
ruining her life.
insane.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was insane.
It was. I kind of like sensed it at the beginning. Did you finish it, by the way? I don't want to like ruin
I did
anything.
finish it. I did finish it,
Okay.
and I had seen some TikToks that had basically given away the thing,
And yeah,
the end. So I knew going into it, and the fact that I don't want to give things away, but the fact that that person is in the documentary in the beginning, like talking, like I was like, that is sociopathic behavior. Like, let
one
alone
hundred
what they
percent.
did, the fact that they're talking like they were involved and they were trying to solve it, like after the fact, I was like, this person is a sociopath and needs to be watched. Like,
Yeah,
that is terrifying.
100%.
And the manipulation that they have on the victim is so heartbreaking. Like the end when the victim's talking about like their relationship with this person now, I was like, that is so heartbreaking, and I really hope that they're able to distance themselves and not continue that. But yeah, that
Yeah,
was the text messages were just absolutely disgusting. Like when like the sexual aspect of it towards about the boyfriend, um it's just the fact that they were telling her to like kill herself, and like it just acting afterwards like it wasn't that big of a deal, like it's just crazy.
yeah. Like, can you imagine like be wanting a relationship with someone, no matter who it was, after they
Mm-hmm.
told you to kill yourself? Like, fuck no. But it's just confusing because of the, dynamic of the
Mm-hmm.
relationship.
Yep.
And the person is so young. But I'm like, dear God, I hope she's in therapy. And I think it's just because she is still so young.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see towards the end, she still hasn't seen this other person since they got out
Mm-hmm.
of jail. And I think, there's some people in her ear. Maybe her dad's trying to like, you know, be real with her,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe she is in therapy. Despite her still wanting a relationship with this person, there might be some people like pushing the brakes, being like, well, let's not forget what she's capable of and that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
I think the saddest part for not the saddest part, but I think one of the hardest parts in the documentary was at the end when Owen is talking about how he doesn't talk to Lauren anymore, and he kind of like, and he'll never talk to her again. And it's like, she didn't do anything wrong. She was as much of a victim. Like, not that you need to be in a relationship, but like, you guys should be friends and like help each other through this. And like, she's probably having a much harder because of what happened. Like, she needs, like, that's probably why she's, wanting to continue this relationship with the perpetrator, because she's lost anyone really, especially her peers, that could be a support system for her, and that's what she needs.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I did find that sad. And I don't know if he just suspects that she was involved. I imagine he probably does, and that's the reason why he doesn't want to talk to her, because he just acts like he's pissed at her or just mad at her, even though, let's say for sure she didn't have anything. Like, why would she be involved? I don't know. There's been crazier things that have happened. It's still a possibility, but it just feels like he thinks that it was her, that she was involved, and her mom or this person, they were like teaming up and
spoiler.
Yeah. Oh well, we got it spoiled for us, so you have to be spoiled too.
That's true.
But yeah, so it's like it sucks. I'm glad she has her dad, and they're closer and stuff now. And I know eventually it'll become a thing of the past. It's harder when there's a whole Netflix documentary about it now. So I'm like, oh, don't know if that was the right move. But hopefully her life will become a little bit more normal as she grows up, and, people forget that sort of thing.
I also saw some other like videos of stuff that wasn't revealed in the documentary. Like, one of the things was, before the mother was caught, she was the coach for her daughter's sports teams, but she also like volunteered to be a coach for the boyfriend's like track team or something, and was trying to like try to go to different track meets that were like out of state to support Owen, and the parents were like, that you don't need to go to that, like, that's not appropriate. Like, this was after they had broken up. So like, I was surprised that wasn't in the documentary, because I feel like that was a telling part of the fact that like, she like obviously like had a thing for this boy who was 14 at the time. It's just sick.
It is crazy. That's crazy. Like, she's the type of person that shouldn't be able to get a gun. Like, that's the type of crazy.
Yes, exactly. She's the type of person who shouldn't be able to get a gun, should not be allowed around children unsupervised. Like, just absolutely insane.
Yeah. And guess what? She's not trans. Imagine that. Oh, right? Lord. Yeah. Well, let's see. Yeah, what else did you ever say what you were watching?
No.
You're just
so yeah, I watched that yesterday. And then my wife and I just started the Hunter's Wives on Netflix. Have you watched that at all, or heard anything about it? It's it's steamy. It's a steamy show, like, right away. Wasn't expecting it, but the premise is, it's like about this woman and her husband and their kid. They moved to Texas from Boston, so she's obviously very liberal. And he is an he's an architect for this bigwig, Texan Republican, and he's trying to get in with this guy because it's his boss, so he's trying to kind of like kiss ass, and in doing so, like, he gets his wife involved with all of these Republican wives that like all hang out with each other, and there's a lot of steamy stuff happening with these wives, very what Republicans would not say, but they like to not do what they say. So this is probably, it could be accurate. I don't know, but it's
Probably.
all, yeah, but it's all intermixed with like a murder mystery, too. So um, we started it last night and ended up like binge watching till like 1 a.m. because we didn't want to stop watching it. So we're like halfway through the season, but that was really good, and I would highly recommend it. We watching the Alien Earth series. So I think there's only like 2 or 3 episodes that are going to be coming out. And then we've just been rewatching the Alien movies every night. So that's been kind of what we've been watching. I've also, not watching, but I've kind of made the decision. I have an Audible account, so I'm always like getting audiobooks, and usually it's like, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, kind of that type of stuff. But I've recently made the decision that I need to improve my education and my knowledge of world things. So I just got and just started. When we try to get the name right, it's called the 1619 Project, and it's basically a history from 1619 till today of African Americans and slavery, and just kind of like a full like honest truth about what happened. So I just started that, and it's really eye opening. But yeah, that's kind of my next kind of personal goal is I just want to I want to, because obviously our education system growing up is definitely not accurate, and I want to make sure that I have the right knowledge in my brain and not what has been picked for me. So yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm doing.
that makes sense. That's cool. I like it. We should start a book club. um, with all our extra time.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, all right. Any last things we should go over before we hang things up?
I mean, I'm sure there's so many things that have happened this week that we just don't have time to cover. But I would say, anyone watching, if or listening, you know, either YouTube or Spotify, or if you're just watching clips on Instagram, if there's any topics that you want us to cover, or if there's a show that you're watching that you want us to watch, or a documentary, make sure to leave a comment, let us know, and we will definitely check it out.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks everyone for listening, and subscribe if you haven't yet so you don't miss a future episode. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye.